Never go back to that neighborhood after dark. 3 true childhood horror stories. I still remember the sound more than anything. That slow, wet tapping against the glass, like someone gently pressing the pad of a finger and dragging it just enough to squeak. I was older when it happened again, years older, but standing in my childhood bedroom that night, it felt like I was 8 all over. The moon was bright enough to catch the faint, oily smudge on the windowpane, the one I'd scrubbed at 100 times when I was a kid, the one nobody else ever saw. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, just a branch or the house settling, but the air was dead still. No breeze, no movement. And the tapping came again, 3 slow taps, evenly spaced, right at eye level. I stepped closer even though my chest felt tight. The curtain puffed inward, like someone outside was leaning against the glass. I couldn't see a face, just the tallest, thinnest outline of a head and shoulders, as if it were waiting for me to move the curtain aside. The tapping stopped, but something shifted. I felt the weight of a smile, a long, patient smile I couldn't see. If you think childhood fears fade when you get older, let me tell you how wrong you are. I grew up in one of those neighborhoods where every house looked the same in daylight. Same beige siding, same trimmed hedges, same mailboxes leaning at the same angle like they were tired of standing up straight. When I think back on it now, it feels almost too normal, like the kind of place nothing bad was supposed to happen. I was 7 the first time something felt off, old enough to ride my bike with friends, but still young enough to believe adults always knew what they were talking about. My parents worked a lot. My mum was usually home by 6, my dad closer to 8, so most afternoons it was just me, my backpack dumped by the door, and the hum of the fridge filling the quiet. Our house smelled like old carpet and pine sol, especially on Saturdays when my mum did her cleaning routine. My bedroom faced the street, 2nd floor, right above the small patch of lawn my dad kept promising to reseed. At night, the orange streetlight across from our house flickered like it had trouble deciding whether to stay alive. Most days were simple. I'd do my homework at the kitchen counter, then ride my bike until the sun dipped low and the shadows stretched across the sidewalk. Caleb lived 3 houses down, always ready with some dumb idea for an adventure. Mia lived around the corner, quieter, but she had this way of noticing things before anyone else did. She was the one who always said the woods behind the cul-de-sac weren't empty, even though all the adults insisted nobody lived out there. I never knew whether she meant animals or something else. There were little routines that made everything feel safe. I'd swing on the playground until my hands smelled like metal. I'd take out the trash after dinner, kicking pebbles along the driveway. Sometimes I'd lie on the living room carpet and watch dust drift through the window like tiny glowing bugs. It was the kind of childhood you didn't question, because it didn't give you any reason to. But every neighborhood has that one house. Ours was the blue one across the street. Faded paint, dead lawn, blinds that always seemed halfway open no matter the time of day. People said someone lived there, but nobody ever saw a car in the driveway. My mum once told me an older man used to sit on the porch at night, but she never said what happened to him. If you grew up in a neighborhood like mine, you know that strange tension you get walking home in the dark. Everything looks familiar, but your brain won't stop whispering that something's different. I used to feel that way every time I passed the blue house, like something behind those blinds was watching me, waiting. Looking back, I think the foreshadowing was always there. Little things adults brushed off. Strange shadows under the flickering streetlight. A curtain in the blue house that seemed to twitch when no one was near it. A low murmuring sound coming from the woods on still nights. But the first time I realised something was truly wrong didn't happen in the woods or in the dark. It happened on a bright afternoon when everything should have felt safe. It was a Saturday mid-afternoon, the kind of day where the sun makes everything look too bright to feel dangerous. I was 8, riding my bike back from Caleb's place, coasting down the slight hill toward my house. I remember the smell of cut grass and someone grilling a few blocks over. I wasn't thinking about anything except maybe asking my mum if I could have ice cream before dinner. Then I saw him. At first I thought he was just a repair guy or something. This tall man standing perfectly still in the yard of the blue house across the street. He wasn't facing me. He wasn't facing the house either. He stood with his back half turned, like he'd been caught in the middle of turning around but forgot to finish. His coat was too big. this long grey thing that almost reached his ankles. No hat, no tools, hands hanging straight down. I slowed my bike a little, just enough to look without being obvious. Adults do weird stuff sometimes. Maybe he was checking the foundation or tracing pipes or whatever grown-ups pretend to know how to do. But he didn't move. Not his head, not his shoulders, not even the hem of his coat in the breeze. It was like the breeze skipped him on purpose. I told myself he just didn't hear me riding past. I told myself he was probably fine, but something in my stomach twisted, the way it does when you walk into a room and feel like you interrupted something you didn't know you were part of. That night I kept thinking about him, the way he stood like he was waiting for something, or someone. I even tried to picture his face, but I realised I hadn't seen it at all. Later, after dinner, my parents told me to take the trash out. It was one of those early spring nights, cool but not cold, the kind where you can hear every little sound because the air is so still. I dragged the trash bag out to the curb, and halfway down the driveway I froze. There were footsteps in our yard. Slow, crunching the gravel near the side of the house. Not rushed, not sneaky, just deliberate, like someone was pacing. For a second I thought it was my dad, but he was inside and these sounded too heavy for my mom. I stood there holding the trash bag, listening. The footsteps stopped, then started again. A few steps, then silence. A few more, then silence again, always close to my bedroom window. I forced myself to keep walking, tossed the trash into the bin, and practically speed-walked back inside without looking around. My heart was pounding, but I kept telling myself it was probably a raccoon, or maybe the neighbour's dog. The next morning, when I went outside to get my bike, I saw it. A single muddy footprint right under my bedroom window. Larger than my dad's, deeper than a child could make. I stared at it for way too long, waiting for some explanation to drop into my head. It didn't. I scraped it with a stick until it looked like nothing, but the shape was burned into my mind. I hoped it was a one-time thing, the weird coincidence. Maybe the man in the yard had been a worker after all, and he wandered over here to check something. That's what I tried to believe. But 2 nights later, I woke up because the streetlight outside my window flickered hard enough to light up my whole room. When my eyes adjusted, I saw him, the man from the blue house, standing under it, staring straight at my window. He didn't move, he didn't wave, he didn't take a step closer. He just watched. And even though his face was hidden in shadow, I swear he knew I was awake. After that night, things didn't go back to normal. I kept trying to pretend they did, telling myself it was just a guy passing through, or maybe some weird neighbourhood drifter, but deep down I knew something had shifted. You can feel it when the place you call home stops being safe. You start noticing sounds you never paid attention to before, shadows that seem a little too long, silence that feels loaded. It started with the footsteps, not every night, just often enough to make me dread going to bed. Gravel crunching near the side of the house, always slow, always spaced like someone taking their time. I'd lie there holding my breath, listening to them move closer to my window, then stop. Sometimes they didn't return for a few days. Other times they came back 2 nights in a row. I got good at pretending I didn't hear anything, but inside my pulse was loud enough to drown out everything else. Then came the tapping. The first time I thought it was a tree branch, but there were no branches near my window. 3 taps, soft, wet, like someone pressing a finger pad to glass and pulling away. I sat up in bed and stared at the curtain, waiting for a silhouette or a shadow or anything. Nothing happened for the rest of the night, and I convinced myself I imagined it. The second time, it happened at 3:14 in the morning. I know the exact time because it woke me out of a dead sleep, and the red digital numbers glowed right in front of my face. Another set of 3 taps, same spacing, same almost sticky sound. I whispered my parents' names, but the house answered with nothing but its usual creaks. I pulled the blanket up to my chin and told myself it was maybe a bug hitting the glass. But bugs don't tap like fingers. By the 3rd time, the tapping had a rhythm, a patient, almost playful rhythm. 3 taps, a pause, then 3 taps again. Sometimes it happened once and stopped. Other nights it went on for minutes. I started sleeping with a pillow over my head, but it didn't help. The sound was too close, too intentional. And it always came when everything else was still. No wind, no cars, no movement outside. The world went quiet first, like it was waiting for him too. My sleep fell apart long before anyone noticed. I'd sit in class and jerk awake because my body thought it heard tapping on a classroom window. I drifted through the school day like a ghost. Caleb said I looked sick. Mia said she felt like something was hovering over me, which didn't make me feel any better. I tried telling my parents about the tapping once. They exchanged a look, that tight-lipped parental look that meant they thought I was having nightmares. My mum said maybe I was watching too many scary shows. My dad said it was probably raccoons. When I told them raccoons don't tap in patterns, they just told me to get more sleep. But there were patterns, and once I saw them, I couldn't unsee them. The tapping always happened after the footsteps. The footsteps always happened after the streetlight flickered, and the streetlight only flickered when I sensed someone standing beneath it. That was the part that scared me the most. The idea that this wasn't random, it was deliberate, like someone was checking a series of boxes before coming to my window. One night, as I was brushing my teeth, I saw something in the reflection of the bathroom mirror. Through the small window above the sink, even though it was dark out, I could make out the faint shape of someone on our front lawn. Not moving, just angled slightly toward the house like they were deciding whether to come closer. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. I could feel the weight of eyes on the side of my face, even through the glass. Another time, when Caleb was over, he swore he saw a tall shape in my backyard while we were playing video games. He described the arms as too long. He tried to laugh it off afterward, but he couldn't look at the backyard again without shifting uncomfortably. And the breathing. God, the breathing. I didn't hear it often, but when I did, it was right outside the window. Faint but close, like someone standing inches away, exhaling through their nose. The kind of slow, steady breathing you make when you're concentrating on staying quiet. You ever try convincing adults something's wrong and they just smile like you're imagining it? That was my life for months. The breaking point came on a night my parents left the hallway light on for me. I woke up to the tapping again, but this time it sounded different, closer, slower. I sat up and saw the curtain moving, not from wind, but like something was brushing against it from the outside. Then, for the first time, the tapping didn't come from the glass. It came from inside the room. 3 soft taps on the wall near my bed. I froze. I couldn't think. I didn't dare breathe. My eyes darted around the room, but there was nothing there. Just my dresser, my clothes pile, my school backpack slumped over by the door. The curtain swayed once more. And for the first time since all of this started, I realized the truth. Whatever was out there wasn't staying outside anymore. That was the moment I finally understood I was in real danger. The night everything went wrong didn't start out scary. That's what still gets me. It was one of those humid summer evenings when the air feels thick enough to drink, and the cicadas are loud enough to drown out your thoughts. I was 11 by then, old enough that my parents trusted me to stay out a little later, as long as I stayed close to the cul-de-sac. They were at a neighbour's barbecue a few houses down, the kind of event where adults stand in clusters under porch lights, while kids run in and out of yards, chasing each other with glow sticks. I remember the smell of charcoal drifting through the neighbourhood, the warm yellow glow from windows, and the faint music playing from someone's backyard speaker. Everything felt normal, almost annoyingly normal. Caleb and Mia had been begging me to go into the woods behind the cul-de-sac to catch fireflies. It was something we'd done 100 times before. Run down the dirt path, look for the glowing dots, pretend the trees were a secret world only we knew about. I didn't want to go at first. The tapping had been getting worse, and I hadn't been sleeping. My nerves felt thin, like guitar strings pulled too tight, but they kept pushing, saying it would just be for a few minutes. So I went. The woods were different that night. The moment we stepped past the first line of trees, the air felt cooler, heavier. The cicadas didn't follow us in. The silence was so sudden it made my ears ring. Even Mia stopped talking, and she never stopped talking. We walked deeper along the soft dirt trail, our sneakers sinking slightly with each step. The fireflies flickered in and out, tiny gold sparks floating above our heads. Then, suddenly, They all went out at the same time. Every last one. Just gone. The woods went pitch black except for the weak light from Caleb's cheap flashlight. Mia stopped walking. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. At first I didn't hear anything, then I did. Tap. 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 It wasn't on glass this time. It was on wood. Tree bark. Slow, wet, patient taps. The same rhythm I'd been hearing on my window for months. I felt my stomach drop like I'd missed a step on a staircase. Caleb tried to play it off, saying it was probably a woodpecker, but nothing about it sounded like an animal. It sounded like fingers, human fingers. Tap, tap, tap. This time closer. We froze. None of us wanted to be the first to move. The flashlight flickered, and for a split second the beam caught something between the trees, a shape so tall it almost blended into the trunks. Too thin. Head tilted like it was studying us. I don't know who started running first. Maybe it was Caleb, maybe it was me. But one moment we were standing still, and the next we were sprinting through the dark, pushing through branches, our chests burning. The tapping followed us. Not steady anymore. Faster, more frantic, like it was excited. Then came the footsteps. Heavy, fast, closing the distance behind us like we were standing still. I could hear breathing again. That same slow, deliberate exhale I'd heard under my window. Except now it was closer. Much closer. Mia tripped first. Her shoe got stuck in a patch of soft mud near a fallen log. She screamed, this sharp, panicked sound that cut through the dark. Caleb kept running. I didn't. I doubled back and grabbed her arm, pulling hard, trying to free her shoe. She whimpered, saying she couldn't move, begging me not to leave her. Tap. Tap. On the tree right behind us. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see. But my body turned on its own, like it needed confirmation of the thing we'd been running from. A hand. Pale. Too long. Fingers bending the wrong way, curled around the tree trunk. Just the hand. No face. No voice. Just those long fingers feeling along the bark like it was tasting the surface. Then the hand shifted lower toward us. I yanked Mia's ankle hard enough that her shoe came off completely, and we both tumbled backward into the mud. She scrambled up barefoot and we ran again, branches whipping our faces. I could hear the footsteps behind us, running now, picking up speed, crashing through the brush with impossible force. When we saw the edge of the neighbourhood, it didn't feel real. The sudden rectangle of yellow light spilling from someone's backyard, the hum of an AC unit, a sprinkler ticking away in the distance, civilization, safety. Then, by some miracle, a motion detector light clicked on, blasting the backyard in blinding white. The footsteps stopped instantly. I turned back just once, because I couldn't help myself. I needed to know if it had followed us into the yard. I saw the tall figure at the tree line half hidden in the shadows. Its body was wrong, bent, almost folded like its spine had too many joints. The light didn't hit its face, but it leaned backward in this strange, unnatural arc, retreating into the dark like smoke pulled by an unseen hand. And then it was gone. We stumbled into the yard, covered in mud, panting, shaking. Someone's mum rushed over asking what happened, but the words wouldn't come out. Every sentence died in my throat. Even Mia wouldn't speak. Not about that night. Not about what she saw. We should have been safe. We were home. We made it out of the woods alive. But something about the way it disappeared, too smooth, too practiced, made me feel like we didn't escape at all. It let us go. The police showed up about an hour later after one of the adults noticed how shaken we were. They asked all the usual questions. Was someone following you? Did you see a person? Could you describe what they looked like? I remember sitting on the edge of the patio steps, shivering even though it was still warm outside, trying to piece together words that wouldn't make me sound completely insane. Tall was all I could say at first. Too tall. Caleb didn't say anything. Not a single word. He sat on the curb with his elbows on his knees, staring at the woods like he was waiting for something else to emerge. Mia kept wiping her face, smearing dirt and streaks of tears on her cheeks. When the officers tried talking to her, she just shook her head. The police did a quick walk through the edge of the woods with flashlights, but they didn't find footprints or broken branches or anything they could use. One of them told our parents it was probably a trespasser or some older kid messing with us. Another officer said coyotes sometimes make strange sounds that kids mistake for people. No one brought up tapping or breathing or hands gripping trees like they were alive. My parents took me home as soon as the officers left. My mum locked the front door 3 times. My dad checked every room, every closet, every window latch. I tried to tell them about the tapping, about the footsteps at my bedroom window, but they kept cutting me off, saying I was just scared and tired and worked up, that nothing had actually happened inside our house. I wanted to argue, but what was I supposed to say? That a man with fingers like branches had been standing outside my room for months? The next morning, my dad installed a new lock on my window, the kind that keeps it from sliding open more than a few inches. He didn't say why, he didn't have to. He just avoided my eyes and tested the lock twice before leaving the room. For weeks I slept with the curtains closed, the hallway light on, my bedroom door cracked just enough for the glow to reach my pillow. Every tiny sound pulled me awake. A creak in the floorboards, a rustle outside, a car driving past. My body reacted before my brain could catch up, convinced every noise was the tapping starting again. Caleb stopped coming over. His parents said he didn't want to talk about that night. They told mine he'd been having nightmares, waking up screaming about someone in the trees. A few months later, they moved to another town. I never saw him again. Mia changed too. She wasn't the same girl who joked about ghosts in the woods or tried to scare us with made-up stories. She grew quieter, flinched at sudden sounds, and avoided walking home alone. One afternoon, she told me she couldn't go near the cul-de-sac anymore. "It followed us out," she whispered. "I think it knows where we live." That was the last real conversation we ever had. Her family moved the next summer. As for me, I tried to pretend things were normal. I threw myself into school, kept the TV on late, and slept with headphones in so I didn't have to hear anything outside. But the fear didn't go away. It just buried itself deeper, settling somewhere under my skin. Years passed. Middle school, high school, then moving away for college. I thought putting miles between me and that neighbourhood would make it fade into a weird story from childhood. Something my brain exaggerated. Something I could chalk up to being young and impressionable. But some things never fade. Even now I can't sleep with a window open. Not even an inch. I can't sit with my back to a window at night. I can't walk past tree lines without feeling like someone is standing just out of view, waiting. And one question still sits in the back of my mind, gnawing at me. How did it reach my second-floor window? I used to tell myself it climbed, or there was some ledge I never noticed, or maybe the angle of the ground made it seem higher than it really was. But I know better. That thing didn't climb. One of the last times I visited my old neighbourhood as an adult, I decided to drive past the cul-de-sac just to see it again, just to remind myself how small and harmless it really was. I parked for a minute near the edge of the woods, right where we came running out years ago. And that's when I heard it. Tap, 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 on the roof of my car. Soft, patient, familiar. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't look up. I didn't move. I just stared straight ahead at the flickering streetlight, the same one from my childhood, watching it blink like something tall had just stepped beneath it. I left without looking back. I didn't need to. Some things follow you long after you escape. I don't talk about any of this in real life. It sounds made up when I try to form the words, like something from a campfire story or a fever dream. But the truth is, it shaped me in ways I'm still trying to understand. Fear sticks to you when you learn it young. It gets into the small places, your habits, your instincts, the way you scan a room without even realising it. I still catch myself checking windows in houses that aren't mine. I still tense up when I hear a branch tap against a wall. I still feel watched in empty rooms. People say childhood fears fade, but that only happens when the fear was in your head. When something real touched your life, something with weight and intention, it never leaves. It just waits quietly in the background, like it's letting you grow up so it can reach a little further next time. Sometimes I wonder what it was, a person, something living off the grid in those woods, or something older, something that didn't care about the lines humans draw between real and unreal. I've tried to rationalize it, to pin it down, but all I come back to is the way it moved, the way it watched, the way it knew exactly where to find me. There's one detail I've never told anyone. When I drove by the neighbourhood that last time and heard the tapping on my car roof, I thought that was the end of it. A warning, a reminder. But a few weeks later, I went back again. I don't know why. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I needed proof it was over. The blue house wasn't empty. The blinds were open just a crack, like someone inside wanted to see who was passing by, and when I looked up, I saw a hand reach forward and pull the curtain shut. A hand with fingers too long, too thin, bending just a little wrong, like it remembered me. If you live on a quiet street, the kind where nothing bad ever happens, take a second tonight and look at your window, especially if someone used to live across the street, but doesn't anymore. Just make sure nothing is watching back.